Thanks for watching Lessons in Minutes with Jaylee. Like, share, and don't forget to subscribe.
Welcome back, guys, as we look at bank reconciliation statement. And again, that is a part of the control system. And today, I'll be looking at preparing a bank reconciliation statement from a worded question. Oftentimes, once you get the cash book and the bank statement to compare each and to do the bank reconciliation statement, you're good to go. But when you basically reach to a bank reconciliation statement and you realize that that question is a worded question, some person tend to just go blank. But guess what? There's no need to continue to be blank because we're going to take a look at working a bank reconciliation statement from a worded question. So here we go. We're presented with this question, and it is from 2016, question 3. In September, Grenada's cash book showed an overdrawn balance of 3,400, which did not agree with the balance on his bank statement. In checking his cash book with his bank statement, Grenade observed the following. So this 3,400 represents your balance that is within the cash book, the overdrawn balance that is in your cash book. And guess what? It is important for you as you go through to highlight the main things from the question. In checking his cash book with his bank statement, Grenade observed the following. A check paid to Blue for $1,238 was correctly entered in the bank statement, but entered in the cash book as $1,328. When you're working with a worded question, when it indicates that something is wrong with the cash book, it's either there's an error or the entry was not placed in the cash book. It means that you'll have to use this item in updating your cash book. So I'm going to make a note beside this that should be CB, reflecting the updated cash book. No, the check was paid out. So it means that that was a credit entry in the cash book, but it was overstated. So what we'll need to do is to find the difference between the two figures. And because it was overstated, we're going to put the difference on the debit side to cancel out that extra that was placed on the credit. So it therefore means that we are going to debit the cash book with $90, which is the difference between the two figures. Now, bank charges for the month of 100 were entered on the bank statement, but not in the cash book. So because it was not recorded in the cash book, we're going to use this item to update the cash books. Again, CB. And remember, bank charges would decrease your cash book. So it therefore means that we are going to credit. The bank paid Grenade's insurance of 900 as instructed by standing order. Now, this wouldn't have been known until the bank statement is received. So it therefore means that this item is going to be used to update the cash books. Again, CB, and the standing order, that was a payment made by the bank, so that would cause a reduction in the cash book. So therefore, you're going to credit that. Deposits of 8,000 made to the bank account on September 29 did not appear on the bank statement. No, because this was not appeared on the bank statement, it means that you're going to use this to prepare your bank reconciliation statement. And because it is a deposit, it's a deposit, it wasn't reflected on the bank statement, it means that this is a late lodgement. So that is a late lodgement. So that will be used when preparing your bank reconciliation statement. Dividends of 2,100 from Red Limited was paid directly to Grenade's bank account. So this would not have been known until you get the bank statement. So therefore, no record would have been in the cash book. So you're going to use this item to update the cash book. So beside this, I'm going to put cash book. And because it is a dividend that is received from Red Limited, that is going to cause an increase in the bank account. So therefore, you're going to debit. 4 checks totaling 5,200 have not been presented to the bank for payment. So because it's stated that the checks were not presented to the bank, it's very clear that that is unpresented check. That is an unpresented check. And this unpresented check will be used to prepare the bank reconciliation statements. I'm going to make a note of that as well. Remember, when you're going through your question, you need to ensure that you analyze the question effectively before you respond. All right, and now we're on to the very last note. A check of 300 received from Yellow on September 2nd had been returned by the bank for insufficient fund. So because the check was not paid, we have to show that Yellow is still owing. So therefore means that we're going to get rid of that debit entry that was made by crediting. And in crediting this entry is going to cancel out what was received before, because we need to reflect that we are still owing by Yellow. And that is going to be used to update our cash book. So CB to represent the cash book. And in this case, we are going to credit the cash book. Okay, so we have gone through looking at each note, each item that was observed, and now we're going to prepare part A, which we are asked to prepare the updated cash book. And we begin with the updated cash book. And in preparing the updated cash book, remember, you're going to use the easier format, which is to enter your opening balance. So remember, this is being prepared at the end of September, so our date is September 30th, and we begin with the overdrawn balance. Because it is overdrawn balance, we're going to credit that to the cash book. So that is balance brought down, and the amount there is 3,400. Other information for the updated cash book: once you put in your opening balance, you put in the balance there that you're using to update your cash book, you're going to pick up those things that affect the cash book. And the very first thing is the error. So that is blue, and in brackets you can represent error, and the amount there is $90. In continuing, the bank charges of 100, remember we have identified that we are going to credit the cash book with that. So bank charges, and the amount there is $100. The other thing is the standing order. Remember, the standing order reduces the cash book balance. So therefore, we're going to credit that, and the amount is $900. We have the dividend that was received from Red Limited, and that is a debit to our cash book. So that's dividend received, debiting that to our cash book, and the amount is $2,100. And the final thing that we're going to place in our cash book is that check that was dishonored. And your details is yellow. In bracket, you can put returned check. And the amount there, the amount that is owing to us by Yellow, or the amount that was returned on that check, is $300. Now that we have entered all the items that affect the cash book, we can then proceed to balance off the cash book. And in balancing, you would notice that your credit side is larger than your debit. So therefore your balance carried down is reflected there. And the difference between the two sides there is $2,510. Enter your totals and don't forget to put your double line below and your single line above, and our total is $4,700. After entering your total, you enter the balance brought down, and that is October 1st, balance BD, and the amount is $2,510. Based on what we're seeing after entering that balance, we would notice that there's an overdrawn balance in the bank account. Okay, remember the updated cash book, all we're showing is just the bank account because that's all the detail that we really need to do our bank reconciliation statement. And there's an overdrawn balance of $2,510. Part 2 asks us to prepare Grenade's bank reconciliation statement for the month of September. Now, there are two formats in preparing the bank reconciliation statement. One where you start with your updated cash book balance, and the other you start with your balance as per bank statement balance. And based on this question, we are not presented with the balance as per bank statement. So we have to use the balance as per updated cash book. And in doing the overdrawn balance, we can use two approaches. Okay, so I'll be looking at both, and I'm looking at the one where we work with the figure as a positive before. So what you'll do is to ensure that you enter the title, which is Grenade Bank Reconciliation Statement as at September 30th. The first thing that we enter is the overdrawn balance at bank, which is $2,510. And this $2,510 is coming from our updated cash book. And it is overdrawn balance because that is on the credit side of the cash book. Because we're doing working with a positive figure, then instead of adding unpresented check, we're going to add late lodgement. So the late lodgement of $8,000, and remember, after combing through the question, this was the late lodgement. Deposit of $8,000 made to the bank, but it did not appear on the bank statement. When you add those two figures together, you get $10,510. From that, now we're going to less unpresented check. With the normal format, when there is a positive balance in the cash book, meaning it's a debit balance, you would have added your unpresented check and less your late lodgement. Because it is an overdrawn balance and you're working with positive figures, you're doing the opposite of what you would do to your late lodgement and your unpresented checks. So you notice that we add late lodgements and we're going to less for unpresented checks, and our unpresented check total $5,200. That $5,200 is then subtracted from the $10,510, and that gives us an overdrawn balance as per bank statement of $5,310. So that is the response using the first approach. The other approach is where you work with the figure as a negative figure. So you will use the original format in preparing the bank reconciliation statement, starting with your balance as per updated cash book, but you work with the figure as a negative figure. So here we go. We have the title, enter overdrawn balance as per cash book, and because it is an overdrawn balance, you put that in brackets. To that, you add your unpresented check, and the unpresented check is $5,200. When that is added to that negative figure, we find the difference between the two figures and keep the sign of the larger figure. So we're seeing that there is a positive figure of $2,690. Our next step is to less our late lodgement, and the late lodgement is the value of $8,000. And when we less that, we're presented now with the balance as per bank statement and that is a negative. So therefore, again, it is an overdrawn balance at bank. So remember, there are two approaches working with the overdrawn balance. You can go by way of working with the figures as positive, but if you're working with the figures as positive, don't forget that you add late lodgements and you less your unpresented checks. If you're working with the figure being negative, you continue with the regular format where you start with your balance as per updated cash book, but that figure, you work with it as negative, so you put that in bracket to represent that, add your unpresented checks, less your late lodgement, and then you would get your balance as per bank statement. And because it is negative, it is an overdrawn balance as per bank statement. So that is it for this lesson on preparing a bank reconciliation statement from a given case study, given scenario, a worded bank reconciliation statement.
Like, share, and don't forget to subscribe.